Remember the story about Job? God allowed Satan to touch his life in so many ways. In his grief of losing his children and his wealth, Job ultimately lost his health as well. But even in all of this, Job was still blessed. How, you might ask? Well, God allowed Satan to touch every aspect of his life, except to kill him. This goes to show you that God was even blessing Job in all the mess he was experiencing. God loved him enough and knew Job's heart that he would not curse him. In chapter 9, she basically asked him, "What kind of man are you?" Questioning Job while in this condition about whether or not he still feel upright. Are you standing on your high moral principles now? Do you still trust your God even now? She was throwing God in his face, hoping Job would reconsider his faith in the Father. But did you see in chapter 2, verse 10, where Job had to check his wife? That's what I want to talk about today. His wife, after sitting with her own grief and seeing the misery of her husband, made up her mind that it was best for Job to curse the God he trusted. She thought that cursing God would end all of this, and she could get on with her life. I guess she figured God was mad with Job, and not her. She was thinking about herself at that moment. When we go through things today, we tend to put God on the back burner because we're dealing with whatever issue is at hand. But in this case, God was the issue. Remember, the battle here is between God and Satan. Job was just an instrument. God was showing Satan, Job and the wife, that he is still God and he has the last word. Curse God and die is what Job's wife wanted him to do. I can imagine Job looking at his wife with a puzzled expression on his face because his first word out of his mouth to her was, "What?" He then told her that she was talking like a foolish woman. In other words, he was saying to her, "Woman, you know the God we serve and what he has done for us. You know he is the Almighty God and you want me to curse him? Let's talk about the wife for a moment." I'm sure she loved God as well, but she was tired of the despair. In the past, she also reaped the rewards of her household being blessed and her children healthy. But seeing all this, she now doubted God. A wife is supposed to be a helpmate to her husband. She is the one that is supposed to have her husband's back by praying, fasting, supporting. The Bible never mentions that the wife even went to his aid. It speaks about him having to get a piece of pottery to help his relief. But she let all that go after seeing the calamity that come upon the household and her husband. She even thought it best that her husband die. She had given up all hope. So, Job had to check her. He asked her a simple question, and I'm paraphrasing. Do you think that we're only supposed to receive God's blessings and not experience some bad in our lives as well? Just because we serve a loving God who is sovereign and desires us to have the desires of our heart doesn't mean things stay that way forever. In today's terms, Job was reminding his wife that life be lifing. Things happen. And for whatever the reason, we still have to trust that God has his hand in it. Now, I'm sure Job's wife didn't want to hear this from Job at this moment, but he had to bring her back to the core of what they stood for, which was God himself. Consider this. When God blesses us with the house we desire, it doesn't mean that it's never going to need a new roof or water heater. We still have to cut the grass. When he blesses us with our dream car, we still have to put new tires on it at some point. When he blesses you with finances, he expects that you seek him on how to handle it, so that you don't waste it. The things that God blesses us with require upkeep. His blessings require maintenance. We must continue to pray and seek God for every aspect of our lives. He wants us to be loyal to his word. We have to honor his statutes. This is the maintenance or upkeep for our souls so that his blessings continue. And this is not speaking just materially. God also blesses us with grace and mercy, peace of mind, patience, love for one another, healing, and so much more. Don't let God have to check you. Remember how He is blessing you right now. Think on His love for you. Continue to seek Him in good times as well as bad. Why? Because life be lifing and things happen. And more importantly, stand in your faith that He will keep you, just like He did with Job by sparing his life. Don't be like Job's wife and throw in the towel when things get rough. God was proving Job for his faithfulness. And in your time of proving, ask what the lesson is you should be learning or the next step you should be making. Seek God for everything. Remember that He loves you. Keep prospering in God.